Hey everybody, I wanted to show you a cool exercise that I came up with the help of Annette and Katie Stout in our last meeting. Annette was talking about how she uses the permaculture principles consciously to guide her through a design, and sometimes she'll choose a principle to bring it through, and she has to like prove it to herself at the end of the design that she used that principle. And I think that's a cool idea. And so that got me thinking the way I look at my property when I'm doing maintenance around the house. Let's say a branch falls or something like that, I try to think of the principle. Something goes wrong, basically, something goes out of the ordinary. I say, how can a principle, what principle is being applied here? What can I apply here? Like, say, if a branch falls, I have fresh leaf and fresh wood. I can use that leaf to make a mulch or a fertilizer. I can use the branches to decompose along my beds and feed the ground, whatever. I'm using them as a renewable resource. So I started thinking another way that I could do this kind of idea is just see a base map like this and start thinking, what are the principles there already? Like, how should we start thinking about this from the beginning to help our design process, or to when you first get a property and you want to develop it? So this is my property. I live on 7 acres in South Central Virginia, but I really only cultivate about an acre of it in this cleared area. I put in the access and some water, which is two streams that intersect at swamps. So we should already be able to see this as good permaculturists and gardeners and see the principles here, like the swamps and the streams. I need to catch and store that energy and use them as a renewable resource. There's edges here between the clearing of the cultivated area and the wood line. I can use those edges. So, like, literally, can we put these principles on this map to help us design? And so that's what I started doing with my property. So this is an old picture. I do have, like, some vegetable garden and a cardboard sheet mulch guild that's been started, but this is how I thought about the property when I first got here. In these clearings, I want to obtain a yield. So that's where my full sun is and things like that. At the stream, I want to catch and store that energy somehow. Use and value the diversity around the wood line and the stream, because there's a ton of biodiversity around there. Use and value the renewable resources, use the edges, value the marginal. This area, for instance, is my chicken coop, and I have to walk this circuit a lot to go feed and water them, right? But this whole area was gravel from a roofing company that was based out of this garage, and I just let secession take over that gravel. And so that was my small and slow solution to let that happen. It's selective secession, but that's just an example. Integrate rather than segregate my chickens and my compost that's here, things like that. Just the slope itself, which goes straight, in this angle, straight from uphill to downhill towards the creek, is the lowest point. Just the slope itself demands that I should catch and store energy by using the slope with rain or whatnot. So this is just one level of resolution. So, but it does. This is how I looked at it in the beginning. But since then, I've actually started doing production. I've expanded my chicken area, put in a lot of vegetable beds, and some fruit tree guilds. This is all real world access, the paths that me and my wife walk. So with our new paths that we've established, like this one over here in the woods where we've established a native woodland garden, I'm actually observing and interacting there with the species in the woods, and I'm integrating rather than segregating, and I'm obtaining a yield in that area. But this is a whole new resolution of principles, right? So we go even down further. I'm obtaining a yield from the chickens. I'm using all the edges and valuing the marginal from all these access paths. You wouldn't believe how much edge I have right here. You can kind of tell. I'm catching and storing energy. I installed trees here to the west of my vegetable garden to catch and store the sun energy, to shade out the vegetable garden in the western hottest part of the day. Obtaining a yield in new places that I wasn't before. I installed fencing here for a dog, and I'm going to use that edge and obtain a yield from that. So this is just like, this brings up a whole new can of worms for like what I can do, right? I need to obtain a yield from these places of full sun. I need to use these edges. I need to catch and store energy. For instance, in the future, I want to put a hoop house right here, and I need to obtain a yield from that and use small and slow solutions. So do this with your own property or whatever property you're working on. You can imagine that it just gets overloaded with principles. It's fun, actually.